I have a wonderful little tidbit that has actually turned out to be very helpful for me in the last few days. We're reading this book on the life of Latu Maharaj in the evening in the living room at the monastery. And there was this little section where he's talking to some young men about integrity and about telling the truth, and was telling them that if they say they're going to do something, that they need to do what they say. And not only that, but that they need to be authentic about who they are, so that they don't mimic someone else or do a behavior that's not true to themselves. And so one of the young men asks this question. He says, well, I have both bad and good desires inside. Am I supposed to carry out into action my bad desires also? Will that amount to observing truthfulness? And Latu gives this great answer about the nature of the mind here. And this is the part I'm really excited about, because it's helped me really push through a lot of negative thoughts or negative, temptations is the word, but I, I don't like that word. But you know how the mind presents you with something desirable, and you, by identifying with it, thinks that it's your desire, that it's something that you want. But listen to what he says. You do not know your minds, boys, as yet. What you are calling desires are not desires, but whims. Do you know what is the real desire of the soul? To get bliss abiding that can be had by realizing Satchitananda, which is not an easy matter. To realize this desire for real truth is what we call truthfulness. They say, while the mother's womb, the jiva prays hard to get free of that stage and promises to call on him when he sees the light of day. But after being born, he forgets this promise. This is to be regretted. Of all the kinds of power, willpower is the greatest. When the power becomes active, one grows to be a tremendous worker. Nobody can stand against that. So don't mistake a whim for will. Man, of course, does work under the influence of whims, but such works have no abiding value, and one who is moved by whims makes no spiritual progress. To follow such whims is not the observance of truth. So this is quite wonderful what he's saying there. It's like knowing the nature of your mind. First of all, you have to do that work where you know yourself to be separate from mind, separate from body. And then you can identify these things belonging to mind. So when the mind brings up something, a beautiful woman or a handsome man, or these ideas of lust and attraction, quite often we're overcome by them because we identify with that desire. We think that it's our will to fulfill that desire, to seek for that pleasure. And Latu makes this great point. It's like the mind does not have desires. The mind on a whim will put this before you. If you identify with it, it becomes a desire. It becomes something that you can't let go of, and you keep calling it back up in the mind, and then it becomes a problem because you identified with it and you mistook it for a piece of will or for a desire, for something bigger. So as these things come up in the mind, if you just let them come up and then disappear again, that's what they do. If they come up and you take another thought and replace it with that one, they go away. That's what they do. You don't have to be overcome by them. They are not yours. They do not apply to you. You are the ever-present, ever-blissful Satchitananda, that absolute self without need. So when you are trying to behave yourself, when you're trying to overcome wrong actions, bad habits, remember, the mind is just being whimsical. It has no vested interest in getting you to do one thing or another. It's simply playing old habits back to you. You're the one that decides whether it's yours or not, whether you identify with it or not. And by identifying with it, turn it into a desire, turn it into an act of will. And by doing that, you doom your future to be the same.